Alright, here's some preliminary testing on the fuel pump. I've got a homemade fuel bucket. I was able to push this piece of steel strap down into the side of it, which I thought was pretty interesting, that it had that kind of slot in the side. So I was able to angle that. This angle is where the tank needs to be. The top of the tank's, got kind of a bubble in it. Got my wires coming through this grommet, which I'm going to seal with some urethane. I'll just have to inject it down inside the grommet. I cut a slot in this strap and slid a fuel sending unit in there. So, and then I got it set to where pretty much with the bottom of the bucket or the bottom of the tank, it's gonna read empty, and then obviously it'll run all the way up to full. Got my return line running down into the fuel. So pretty much at this point, the only thing I've got to decide or figure out how I'm gonna do is cut this little flapper into the bottom of this thing. So basically I got to duplicate that to a point to let the fuel in. Here's the pump running. And I got it a little kink in here, so it's building up a lot of pressure on the one side, and it's circulating fuel. So it's definitely making more than 60 pounds of pressure, I can tell you that right now. If I pinch this off just a little bit, there's actually a relief hole in the fuel pump. See it start purging out right there? But anyway, she's definitely making some steam. So once I completely figure out what I'm gonna do, all I've got to do is tack weld this bracket that holds the bucket. That's why it's kind of loose right now. I'm just gonna put a tack weld right here to hold the bracket, and this return line, all there was a little nub sticking through. So basically what I did is I found this fitting, and I had to press it on there, but just as added security, I'm gonna tack weld this nut in place to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And obviously that's gonna get clamped, and that's pretty much it. Here's the valve on the bottom, and that little flap is out of the factory. Fuel bucket. When it's submerged in fuel, you can see it fills up. And basically what that does is when the fuel's sloshing around, it collects the fuel and kind of keeps it in a bowl. And then, if the fuel sloshes around, it keeps it inside. Alright guys, I got the fuel pump sending unit all finished up, and I got it rigged up right here with a Milwaukee 12 volts M12 4 amp hour battery. And keep in mind that the fuel level in the tank is actually below the top of that bowl that I made. So all the fuel that you see is actually flowing through the valve that I put in the bottom of the tank. And also, this is free flowing fuel. It's not under any kind of pressure at all. So it's going to be flowing a lot more volume right now than it will actually in the car. To compound that, as it's being pressurized in the car, the return line is pumping right back into the bowl to keep it full. So this thing is set up, I mean, it's set up just like any other factory fuel sending unit. This is almost exactly like the 2004 Trailblazer EXT fuel sending unit I told you about. This is pretty much an exact copy with the exception of I handmade the whole thing. So here is a demonstration of the fuel flow. So kind of bear with me here because I got it rigged up to the battery here. And I don't want to pump it too long because it's going to pump the tank. But you can see, I mean, that's a steady stream of fuel. And like I said, that's coming through that that valve I made in the bottom of that bowl. And it's also got a, I don't think I ever touched on it, but there's a filter sock in there. So it's got a filter down in the bottom of the bowl as well. So I'm really happy with the way this came out. I would say from this demonstration, it's definitely working as anticipated. So I want to go ahead and get this fuel tank put back in the car. I got some wiring to do. And I got to tie the fuel lines in and everything. And we could fire it up. This is what I ended up doing. Got the Magna Fuel fuel lines, ran from the tank to the car using the steel lines that run through the body of the car. And then what I did for the electrical is I riveted a electrical block to the bottom of the body there, and the leads on the right, the black and red ones, they're going to the fuel pump. And on the left side, you can see the ground and the power wire coming from the relay up front. That's a 6mm line running into the tank. And then I've got a couple of carbon pads for a respirator in there so that the vapors will run through there. So they're basically charcoal filters. The only thing we got to do now is see how this fuel pump runs. Let's see what it sounds like. Oh wow, that's so much quieter. You can barely hear it. I'm gonna cycle it a couple times. That's nice. Check for leaks. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, it's not like I was expecting a leak, but you know, you gotta check, right? Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you like what you see, please consider subscribing, hit that notification bell. See you next time.